started? Okay, perfect. So yeah, I'm Nicole Pruden. I'm managing from the ECMIC standpoint the Infosec program. So if you have questions, your account isn't working, any of that stuff, feel free to come to me. And then if we need to engage Infosec support or find an answer to something, I will help you do that in whatever way. We also have this security awareness at ecmec.org Google group that you guys should all be a part of. If you don't want to be in that group, let me know and I'll take you out. If you didn't get added to that group and you haven't been seeing my emails, let me know and I can get you added to that as well. If you want to know who's in on that from your district, shoot me a message and I can let you know who's in on there. That will be where I communicate any sort of future trainings, any sort of updates to the platform, any of those types of things. I will shoot them out to that group. They are pretty good about sending me updates when they release new phishing or new training campaigns, videos, whatnot. So I'm going to share those out to that group so then you guys are all made aware of what's being added. So the first thing I want to do is everybody should have gotten like a welcome email. If you didn't get that, shoot me a message. My email address, I'll put it in the chat really quick here, just in case you don't have that. So if you didn't get a welcome email that comes from, it's like Infosec welcome or something. It says welcome and it'll say like you've been invited. It'll either say from Erin Everhart or Nicole Pruden. Erin's working with ECMEC over the summer and she's been helping me get everybody added to the platform. So if you haven't seen that, let me know and we'll make sure we get you added or figure out why you didn't get the message. When you get that message, you're gonna be brought to, also everybody who's in that Google group, you have access to the security awareness training folder. So this is where I'll put that in the chat too, just so if you don't see that, you know how to get to that. This is where I have some resources that I'm going to go through today too. So the initial setup, you get an email. This is what it looks like. It comes from accounts@infosecinstitute.com. It looks super fishy, but yes, do click the link as long as it says Nicole Pruden or Erin on there. You click that and then you're going to come to a page that says set up your account. If you want to do the Google single sign-on type of thing, you can do sign in with Google and go that way. If you don't want to do that, you can hit setup. If you hit setup, it's going to ask you first name, last name, pick a password. If you want to turn on multi-factor, that stuff. Either way is fine. You just need to do one or the other. So I have done that here. Once you log in with your account, you should see this. It might take, I don't know why it takes me here. It might take you right to the dashboard. That's what it should do. But for some reason, my account set up to come here. I'll exit the test. And then this is your dashboard. So my dashboard isn't super informative. I might hand off to Jim. Jim has been using Infosec for a couple years now as part of the agreement that ECMEC had with it for the last 3 years. Jim, do you want to share and show your dashboard?
Sure. Let me open it quick.
So I'll keep talking while he does that. But his dashboard's gonna look a lot better because he has more than 4 users. I just have 4 learners is what they call them. So my dashboards aren't very informative.
So this is mine. This is our current months. And naturally, a lot of people are checking email. When we started Infosec, the first month we were over 50% users falling for phishing. As you can see, this month I'm down to 2%. And here's over time. This doesn't go back to when we were 50%, but I think just the last year. So here's like the month I kind of skipped. Well, then it kind of increased again. So that's why doing it over time does help you get these peaks kind of down. And this is the training, this would be right now, this was like a new user that started towards the end of the year. They had to do the mandatory training, but otherwise it would show you how many learners and the completion rate there.
Jim, do you want to pop, sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah.
pop over to reports and then we'll go over the custom dashboards.
Sure.
So the main dashboard is kind of what it is, but then if you hover over reports and then click dashboard, my dashboards, this is where you can create your individual dashboards. If there's certain things you want to track, you want to look to see who's completed training, who hasn't done that, and kind of dig in a little bit deeper about some of those things. They have these pre-built dashboards where you can export those to PDF or you can email them out to people. Yeah, so if you click on that, like here's like a learner scorecard, you can see the grade levels of the people, how many phishing simulations they've received. So if you look at the first one, Diane, she's great. She's got an A+. She's gotten 37 received phishing simulations. She's had 7 phishing simulation events. She hasn't done, so we'll talk about what Fish Notify is. She hasn't used that. She's completed 1 training, which is half of the training she's been assigned. So, or no, she has 1 incomplete, so she's completed half of what she's been assigned.
Yeah.
So,
I think that was one of the ones where she clicked on a link and then they assigned training because of that. She just hasn't.
Yeah. Yeah, so these dashboards are super powerful, and it's something new that they added to the platform within the last like year or so, and they've been building these up. So not a lot of the districts that were using this before have really dug deep into these yet. Okay. So what I want to go through, and I'm going to steal control back, Jim, is that okay?
Yep.
So I'll flip back to my screen just so I can show you the different areas. So at the top here is kind of like the main navigation pane. So the dashboard where you start. Learners are where all of your users go. So that's what they call users. We'll talk about how to add users in the platform in a little bit here, and create groups and see grading and all those types of things. Phishing sim is where Fish sim is where all the phishing simulations exist, and where you roll those out to users and set up, if they click a phishing link, are they going to be trained? Those types of things. That's where all this stuff exists. This Fish Notify thing is also in there. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. Fish Notify ties into Fish Hunter. We'll click into there. Aware Ed is all the awareness training, and if you want to do any sort of assessments or quizzes based on, you train them, you see what they retain type of thing. And then the content library is where all of the training resides. So I'm going to be a little bit backwards. I'm going to start with the content library here. This is where you can see all of the training within the platform. So when you click in initially, there's over 1,000 assets, which is training resources. So you can filter these based on behavior. So if you want to just do phishing stuff, you want to, you're going to have people going off to remote work because, I don't know, we have another pandemic, God forbid. You could filter on that, say you wanted, here's what that is, you could push those out. Subscription plan is kind of pointless. We license enterprise, so that means everything out here you get. So you don't really need to be worried about knowing if you qualify for those things. Content pack, that doesn't really apply either. I mean, you could do K-12 awareness. There's probably a little bit better way to do that. Language, I do suggest if you filter, you do English, because there are some trainings that are in different languages that may not be what you want. If you do need to send out training in like Spanish or whatever, you can filter on those and then just send that stuff out to whoever needs it. Categories, password security, social engineering, web-based threats, roles, industry. There is an education in here. You wanted to search on industry. Here's where I was trying to find this earlier, but program resources. So if you wanted to have like emails that you can send out to people, like just a reminder or whatever, an infographic, a newsletter, a poster, program kits. You can filter on these different things. If you wanted to print posters to post in your break room, you can do that. So those are all available to you. All right, so I am going to talk about learners really quick here. So I only have 4 learners. Your homework after this is going to be figure out how you want to get your people added to the platform. There are 3 different options. You can do CSV imports, an Active Directory sync, or you can load them manually. Manually is probably not feasible for most of you. So if you import with a CSV, you're gonna click here and you can get a file layout, a sample, and then you just populate that document and you load that in. When you are loading learners, if anybody has questions at all, please feel free to interrupt me. I'm 100% cool with that. So you would download the sample file and then fill it out. The only things required to onboard a learner is first name, last name, and email address. Everything else is optional. I highly encourage you to do group or department or title or something to help group users into areas, depending on how you want to roll the training. Jim, do you have ideas about that one?
But like I said, when I started out, I think I might have told the superintendent I was going to do it, but I didn't tell him when. But I sent out, like 4 templates to all staff without any prior warning or anything. That's where we, saw 50 to 60% failure. So I went back, showed the super, like, can we start doing this now? He's like, yeah, and that's when we got on board with Infosec. And I used that same data to show staff why we were doing this. There's a problem, we need to fix it, and this is what we're doing, so it just helped make the medicine go down a little smoother, knowing there was actually a reason I wasn't just doing this to do it. And there's another screen I was going to show with back to reports.
Do you want to take over and show it?
Yeah. This one's actually a lot better, so you can kind of see, our 1-year fish rate was 48.65, and that was after, everyone came back from summer. And then 6 months, we got it down to 22.97. The last 30 days, we're down to 2.04. This will again climb up when we had new staff starting, in the fall and stuff. But so it's gonna cycle. You're nice to get a 0%, but we don't. And then here they have like an industry fish rate. So this is like what an industry average is, and this is how I've been. So for the most part, except for this bump here, we've been better than the industry average. And this just tells you who's reported stuff. And so it's got a lot of nice dashboards you can use to share the information and the data from this.
Yeah, so if you ever have leadership questioning, is this worth it? Why are we paying for this? Those would be great resources to pull out of there to show that continual improvement. I know if some of you are doing this for cyber insurance reasons, there's kind of your justification to see that your security around phishing attempts increases over time. All right, so I'm going to pop back in here. So, yep, so you'll get your learners added into here, and then you also can create groups. You can create as many as you want. They have 2 different types of groups, dynamic or static. What a dynamic group is it's going to be built based on some sort of activity, user setting, or whatnot. The one that is highly recommended to have would be phished. So if your users fall for a phishing attempt, you can create this group based on a phish attempt. You can, if they fail assessments, you can create it based on failed assessments, all sorts of things. Phish count, if their count gets so high, then you can have a predetermined group and say you want to roll out extra training to those people because something's not clicking. We need to figure out what's going on for those. If you wanted to create by department, you can do that as well. That's why I say it's helpful to include some of those optional fields. You can also have static groups, which are just, I add the people to them and that's what it is. So that's another option. You can have, I don't know if there's a limit on groups. I suspect nobody would reach that if there were. Grades is where, so everything in here is rated on the A to F scale. You can see for ECMEC, for my 4 users, we're all an A. You can, export users out based on that. If you wanted to add an individual learner, you just hit new learner, and then you just have to add the fields and then hit save, and then you're good. So Fish Sim, this is where all your phishing templates go. You create these campaigns, you roll them out for however long you want. You decide how many templates are in there. There is stuff that's pre-built. If you don't have the time or you don't want to create your own kind of templates or your own kind of campaign groupings of the templates and those types of things, you can use the pre-built ones. It's completely up to you what you do for that. So I do plan on having some more trainings around kind of best practices with our people at Infosec that we work with, just around like what they recommend. So what I do, probably crazy, I don't know that anybody else really wants to, is I do like all the phishing templates that are in, I think it's the most susceptible ones or whatever, and I just send them out to everybody for the whole entire time. So there's 271 in there. Some of them are not applicable to education. Some of them are. I just wanted to see kind of what randomness I get with having all of those. So then in Fish Notify, what this is this is a browser extension that you can roll out to your users. You can push it out with Google Admin. I'm pretty sure you can use it on O365. We just haven't done that with any of the districts that are on the platform today. So we would definitely help figure that out if you choose to do that in that kind of environment. So this is just an extension. So when I get a phishing email, I can click this. Here's the little extension. You can see that right there, a little red fish with a hook. I can click this to report an email as a phishing email. What this does is if it actually was sent from Infosec, it'll say like, yay, good job, you spotted a fish, which is kind of my validation personally as someone getting the attempts that I know this was not a legitimate phishing attempt or a legitimate email. Now, if I click that on an email that is not from Infosec, it will kind of record that into the platform. And depending on how the administrator, you guys have it set up, you can get notified of those messages. So then you can tell users that, hey, this wasn't me. This looks like a legit email. Or it can do nothing. Or it can remove the email from the user's mailbox. So there are some different actions that you can do with that. That also then pulls into this fish hunter where you can see that it pulls in the messages that were marked and kind of shows those. So if you wanted to if you want to review them, you want to work on talk to the user, whatever, you can do those types of things if you choose to use this. Now, if it's a legitimate Infosec phishing attempt, it will not show in here. All right, Aware Ed, this is where you roll out the training pieces. So the phishing and the training, you can do them both. You can do one or the other. It's completely flexible with the platform. You get to decide how much you do, whether that be, a few things here and there, whether it be a whole bunch, all up to you and your district, what works for you guys. You create the campaigns, you can tie the trainings to those, roll them out, send reminders, all sorts of stuff.
And
then the content. Oh,
sorry. And the training, if you guys are going to do it, There's also last year, the year before, we had a lot of investigations on oversharing private data. So there's actually FERPA training in this too. So this last year I incorporated the cybersecurity along with the FERPA training, kind of getting both at the same time. And that just kind of breaks the training up a little, but covers something that's equally as important with security. So.
Yes. Another good point is in this content library, if you wanted to load any sort of forms, training, whatever you have, could it be PDF, could be a video, you have the ability to load and track that stuff in here as well. I don't know that a lot of people are taking advantage of that today, but it is out there for you. So the other thing that I wanted to focus on today was this little gear icon right here is where you need to go. This is going to be your first step before you do anything with rolling out users and any of that stuff. You're going to want to go here and go to account settings. And you are going to want to update this page. You should so the organization name, if I didn't put that in or we didn't put that in the way that you need that to be, go ahead and modify that. Primary email address is either going to show myself or Aaron's email. Go ahead and put whoever's going to be your primary person at your district in there. Update the time zone if that didn't pull in. Organization or industry, go ahead and education, size, if you want to do that, that's fine. That's what it used to compare you in the view Jim showed to other the industry comparisons. Do that, hit save, and then what else you're going to focus on is going to be this branding. If you hit edit branding, this is going to be where you can change the colors. So I have white small, woohoo. You can change this to whatever you want it to be, and you'll see that it's changing the color scheme of, and this shows on like the training and stuff that it sends out. So it's good to do this because then users aren't like, well, why is this random place sending me stuff? It will have your stuff on there. You can upload a logo, so then the logo will show up on there as well. So I highly recommend that you do that. Make sure you hit save when you're done. And then the other thing that you're going to want to check is these campaign notifications. Make sure that they don't have like any ECMEC email addresses in there. I don't think they do. You should see these 3 as default Infosec notifications, but these can be changed if you need to. But these ones look good on here. If you want to add users to your account from the administrative standpoint, this is where you do that, account users. So you have different roles in here, administrator, reporting, or user. I don't quite know what the user is. I don't know that I would recommend anybody use that. But if you have other people who are going to help add users, they're going to send out training, send out phishing, help schedule that stuff, you would add them as an administrator. Reporting is going to give them access to only this reporting stuff. So if you wanted to add like managers, supervisors, your superintendent, your principal, because you want them to go in here and look at those dashboards or whatever, that you would add those as just reporting users.
Hey, Nicole,
Yep.
For the phishing sim section for the My Domains, do I want to change that to mine or do I leave that as ecmec.org?
Change it. Where is it? Is it on my screen right now?
Yep.
Yep. Change that to your domain.
So do add domain to that? Because I don't think I have a delete option.
Yep.
Okay.
Click add, and you can say, we'll pretend.
Yeah.
We'll pretend that's your district, and then you can add that. You can add as many as you want, and then save it.
Okay.
And then I think, actually, you can probably overwrite the ECMEC one. You can't delete it, but you can overwrite it.
Okay.
I would take the ECMEC one out, otherwise it may send stuff with the ECMEC address, which some of you, that's going to be meaningless. Maybe for ECMEC member districts, you want to leave that in there because you want it to look like we're phishing them too, which you decide. or if you have, so some people have like different domains for staff, different domains for students, or like I've seen like app.schooldistrict.org, whatever. If you want to add more than that, go ahead and do that. But good, yes, ask questions. I appreciate questions because I know that I don't cover everything because there's a lot of stuff. The next thing that you're going to need to do is whitelisting. So in that folder that I shared, there is this document. Let me pull up the link here. That kind of it's kind of a highlight of what I'm going through today. About halfway down the page is whitelist the necessary IPs. And then there I have instructions for Gmail, FortiGate, and Office 365. Do not do the firewall whitelisting. I haven't found anybody that needs to do that. So only do that if you do the Gmail or Office 365, whichever one you use, whitelisting and things don't work, then go to the firewall stuff. But I found that for all the 10 districts that we had in the platform before, that just doing the Gmail stuff, because they all use just the Gmail, that worked. So if you open up the link in there, it's going to walk you through how to do that in Google. I'm just going to use Google as an example. The steps are a little bit different for Office 365, but the same gist. So it's going to show you where to add those IP addresses, how to bypass the spam filter, and what you need to do to get this set up. So what this does is it helps to make sure that the emails aren't automatically being put in users' spam. That defeats the purpose. We want these to go through to people's inbox as if they were actual, like, legitimate messages to test for that resiliency for spotting these up and coming phishing threats.
So Nicole, I use Secure and says for my email, would I have to contact them so it doesn't get caught by their filters also?
I think so. Let me look. Let's you and I connect because I don't know that anybody else uses that, but they might have instructions for how to do that within the platform. Malacca set theirs up and it works fine. So I know it's possible. I just don't remember the exact steps.
Sounds good.
Nicole, do you care if I share this email that?
Go ahead.
Okay. Let's see. So even after you do all this stuff, Google's still really good about flagging things. So even with you having a whitelist, you will get these alerts from time to time where it says phishing inbox is due to bad whitelist. That's just going to be normal. You know, it's catching the test you're sending out, and Google really thinks it's really spam or phishing, but it's testing. So you'll get these emails as an admin once in a while. Just ignore them. You know, there's no way to totally stop these from coming through. You've whitelisted. They're just kind of telling you whatever. So just don't let that concern you when you get one. It scared me at first, but then I realized what it was. Can't hear you, Nicole. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. It's a user error. ID10T, blame it on it's the problem between keyboard and chair, PEPCAC error. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Cause yeah, I just don't have the volume, so I don't see all of those things like you guys do or will with, you know, the number of users that you have in the platform. So those are good things to share as a group. I don't know if I mentioned this, so I might be repeating myself, but the point of that security awareness like group too is that we will do every couple of months, whatever we decide is going to be good. Just have these kind of like informal Google Meets where we can talk about what's working, what's not working, what are we seeing within the platform. So if you guys, like as a general, are like, oh, this sucks, we need this improved, or we're not quite certain on that, I can go back to the InfoSec people and be like, hey, we got a bunch of people who are saying this doesn't make sense or whatnot. So we can relay that kind of feedback to them to help this be successful in the school world, because we're all a little bit unique, especially, with businesses and whatnot. So that's kind of the goal there that way. And you guys also have that support around, all right, so is anybody phishing students? What are you doing? How'd you get that to work? Did you get questions about this? Or the ultimate teacher contract question of, they don't have time to do this. Those types of things. We can all talk about how to make this successful, because I don't want you to be spending money on a product that you're not able to get that adoption for, and have it be, a powerful tool to help just overall improve the district security. All right, so this is the list of IP addresses that you'll want to get added in there. Once you are done doing that with that little user guide walkthrough, what you're going to do is you're going to click, test allow list settings. What this does is it's going to send your email address that you have in the portal as your administrator. So for me, here it is right here. It'll show that to you. It is going to send me a test phishing email with a little confirmation code in there. I have to put that code in and then submit it. And what that does is it just validates to the system that I got that done and things are working the way it needs to be. Once you have that, then you're kind of ready for the next step of actually sending stuff out and getting users set up. So once you do that, then I would work on importing the learners and then we'll start having some meetings about how to roll out the training, what kind of training stuff, if you guys want that. If you feel like you're good, that's fine too. So that's kind of the plan. So we took about a half an hour for the first session. We're a little bit longer today. The goal for you guys now would be, one, make sure you can get logged into the platform. If you can't, email me and let me know and we'll get you set up. If you need anybody else added as an administrator and you're not comfortable doing that, or you want them added to that InfoSec group that I have, let me know, shoot that my way and I'll get them set up in there as well. And then once you have people, once you're in, your administrative people are in, what you should do is do the whitelisting. Again, if you have any problems, reach out. We'll get that figured out. There's always probably going to be somebody who has something weird go on, and we'll work through those as needed. Once the whitelisting is done, go ahead and figure out how you want to load your learners. Are you going to do Active Directory sync, or are you going to do the CSV import? If you open up this document, I have instructions, or I have the links to their knowledge base on there for how to do those things. The CSV import is probably the easiest. Active Directory sync, I think, is fairly easy, but not a lot of people have taken advantage of that for whatever reason.
Part of the reason is not everybody that has email also has Active Directory. So it'd be. Yeah.
So those are district specific. Choose what's going to make the most sense to you and then get learners added and set up in there. Start thinking about groups if you want groups. Go ahead, Mike.
How many licenses do we have? Where does it show within our portal?
Ooh, good question. If you go to account settings.
If you go to learners, it'll tell you.
Yeah, there's another subscription settings, I think. No, I lied. Subscription settings just shows oh, look, they got our renewal already in there. Yeah, that doesn't. Does learners show you the number that you have?
No.
Yeah,
oh yeah, so 4 out of 4. Yeah. So right now for everybody, I'm not able to give everybody all of their learners because we don't get the dump of the licenses until July 1st. So if you can't add learners because you were one that I couldn't give you all your licenses, I apologize. You'll have to wait until after July 1st. I'll let everybody know when that should be done and make sure everything gets allocated right. I can't do that till we our contract officially starts. I might try to push and see if they'll allow that to happen earlier, but this is where you can see I have 4 assigned to me and I have them all allocated. You must be able to make them inactive too, but I guess I've never done that. Jim, have you ever done that?
I just delete them.
You just delete them?
Yeah. If it was going to be somebody that was like a frequent long-term sub or something that we treated as a real employee, then I deactivate them probably, but I haven't had that.
So Nicole, this is Joel in Hibbing.
Hey, Joel.
Hi. I synced my Active Directory server this morning.
Perfect.
And my license count is showing 431 out of 5. So, and they're showing all as active. Now, whether I could actively use them in a campaign, I don't know. But it did allow me to put all my, even though I only had 5 licenses allocated, I could put them all in.
Yeah, unofficially, I think you're okay with that. I feel like there's like some settle up period, but you do have the flexibility, like when you do AD sync, to go over a little bit. I suspect the CVS, not the CVS, the CSV import would let you go over as well too. You might start getting warnings as time goes on. Joel, how easy was it to do the AD sync, if you don't mind?
Very easy. It was like maybe 20 minutes reading through all the documentation.
Yeah, perfect. Cool. So if we have questions or anybody wants to see that, maybe I can bug Joel and beg and plead, and he'll do a walkthrough on how he did that.
It was the documentation is like what we would do for our staff. It was like, click this, there's a screenshot of it. Do this, here's a screenshot of that. It was, I don't know how you could make a mistake, really.
You'd be surprised. No, yeah, I do have to say that I appreciate the Infosec documentation. Their guides are like spot on, and they update them too. Like the Google stuff, you guys know if you're a Google district, how often where something is changes, and Infosec is pretty legit in keeping that stuff all up to date. So that's good. All right, so we squirreled there for a minute. I don't remember what I was saying. Get the allow listing done, get your users set up. You're going to do that test until things work through. And then we'll
groups.
I did, didn't I? One of the other groups that I want to mention too is Bounced. So this is you might have to create this group. I don't know that it creates these automatically, but you're going to want to create this where it says email bouncing equals true. And this is going to help you, because what happens sometimes is probably not with the Active Directory sync, but with like the CSV import, or if you're manually entering users, you might typo things. I know I do that all the time. So if you have that, or if there's something with email delivery or whatnot, I think it tries like a couple times, and then if it gets undeliverable messages for someone's email address, it's going to flag them as bounced and stop sending to them anymore. So this group is going to show you those users that exist in there, so you can double check that the email's right. And if it's right, then you can say, okay, take them out of here, still keep sending them things. Because I think occasionally we've had a case where it will say something's bounced, like it's like a hitch in Google's Giddy Up that, I don't know, for whatever reason, maybe the email wasn't delivered at the time or something like that. So you're going to want to create this dynamic group, and then, check that every so often, and be aware of that if you have users not getting emails.
I would, when I've had this issue, when it hasn't been a typo, a lot of them were typos, is also if I'm creating a brand new account and when I'm doing my onboarding and I add them to InfosecIQ right away, and they haven't logged into their account yet, I've had where they've been to the bounce too. So I kind of wait, make sure they got logged in once, and then come back and add them to this.
Yeah. Yeah, so these groups are really, really flexible and really powerful to help dig in if you have issues or if you want to focus stuff on specific user types or groups, or say you want to say everybody whose name is Nicole. We know that they really suck at security because, I mean, that's the truth right there. So anybody whose name is Nicole, we're going to fish them more because, I don't know, whatever reason.
And then a pro tip I had was make a group, a dynamic group or static group for anyone that's fished. So your frequent clickers, your serial clickers, they'll get added to that group. That way you've got, if you need to do more training with them, you can assign training to just that fished group, and then you're just getting the ones that are needing a little extra.
Can you pop into yours, Jim, and tell me what field that is?
Nicole, what did you use for the bounced field?
Um,
Status?
It's way at the bottom of the list. It's emails bounced.
emails bouncing.
They're not
Oh,
alphabetical.
got it.
You can scroll all the way down. Yep.
Got it.
You can
Okay.
type
we
like
have
the
to-
first letter to get
That
down.
didn't work for me.
Oh, it did.
Because they're not alphabetical.
Ugh, how dumb. There, we have a suggested improvement for them.
So here's the fished ones. Right now, I just cleared it out this morning because
Click your pencil icon. So for fished,
but I'll show you how to get in there. Yeah.
yeah,
is that
how
what
are they
you want?
getting in there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what you do is when you go into your campaigns, and I'll just edit this one. Can I edit? Or I'll just do a new one. So when you set your course and your learners and stuff down,
Oh, yep, I remember now. It's a setting in there.
yeah, let's see. Is this what I wanted to be? No, I wanted to be at Fish Hunter. Sorry.
So this is where like the having the group of us together really is advantageous because there is a lot of stuff in here and it is a very powerful tool.
Yeah. So right here, this fished actions, I can select a group. So I just have anyone that got fished gets added to fished.
Mhm.
That way I've got a specialized, these are my frequent clickers, add them to that. And taking them out, if somebody calls me and Jim, I was really in a hurry, I clicked this by mistake, it was like the first time they've done it in a year, I might say, okay, then you just go to your groups and you go to your fished, and you click edit. All it does, it'll have your selected learners over there. So say if I had Adam Engel in here, say he clicked something, if I want to take him out, I just click and he's gone, But it's like, I've had one lady that failed every single test every single month. And it's like, we had to have conversation with her because it was, sooner or later she's going to click a real one and then we're going to have issues, so, but hopefully you guys don't have anyone like that. And she's been good the last year. So it just took a year and a half to get her there. That's all I got to say about that.
Well, all right. So I think that is about all that I had. Does anybody else have any other questions?
Nicole, I did the test delivery.
Yep.
And the email that I got had the big yellow orange Google banner across the top that said be careful with this message. Is that because it is the admin account, or is it because it's the first one I did? Or is that telling me that my whitelist settings are not working?
That's just Google. That's just Google.
So from what I've been told by Infosec is that Google is going to flag some of these. There's nothing they can do about that. That sometimes you are going to see that, and that's, Google's on top of things. So your whitelist settings work if you got the email.
Okay.
And it went to your inbox.
Yep.
Okay, so then you should be good.
Yeah,
now, if it went to spam, that would be an indication that whitelist isn't working. Or if you didn't get it at all, that would be another indication that whitelist is not working.
And then
And now, oh, go ahead.
Under account settings and campaign notifications, do we change the sending domain? It's security-iq-notifications.com. Do we change those or do we leave it like that?
I left mine.
Okay.
Yeah. These are good questions, Joel. So I think what I'm gonna do is like stuff like that. Let's put those on a list together, and when we get to the point where we're ready for the InfoSec, what is the title? Jim, what was the title of the person? Solutions engineer.
Yeah.
We're going to meet with a solutions engineer when we get ready to like start rolling out the actual phishing and awareness stuff. I'm going to meet with them and then bring you guys in on that so we can actually have someone say, here's kind of like what they recommend from a getting started standpoint. And that would be a good place for those types of questions.
Okay. So we're gonna have a future session that says, okay, you're ready to do your first phishing campaign. Let's all get together and go through just that. We're gonna do that. Okay.
Yep. The intention of these initial ones were to make sure everybody can get into their account, everybody can get the whitelisting done, and everybody knows kind of what your options for uploading learners are. You can start thinking about like what your plans are for rolling out the phishing and the training. Just to have some sort of idea, like, are you gonna let people know ahead of time, or are you just gonna roll this and get a baseline? The InfoSec will recommend that you roll this out to get a baseline. I understand that sometimes that is not feasible because your district may be very against that. Ideally, you would be able to push it out and do that, but sometimes you know your district better than I do. If that's going to get you in hot water, then yes.
Yeah. And my stance is I wouldn't be afraid of getting in hot water over it because you're pointing out that there's a problem.
Yeah, I already went to the superintendent and said, hey,
Yep.
you know, I'm going to do a phishing test. I'd like to do it blind. You know, are you okay with it? So at least the superintendent's in on it, you know, and he agreed. I mean,
Yeah.
don't say, hey, we're going to test you. And then, you know,
that's the same experience I had.
yeah. So yeah,
And
we're
if
going to do our
yours
first
says different, I would argue.
Yep. And that's the perfect scenario. And that's the way that I and InfoSec are going to recommend that you do that. Leadership, get your superintendent, whoever your leadership that you have to, you know, ask, get their buy-in so they'll know, but don't send out a blast saying, hey, all staff, we're going to do this phishing training, because then you're getting false results, really, because you're putting people on high alert and then sending it out. So realistically, it should be lower because you've just told people. So that's kind of my recommendation, but everybody's.
That's where I followed up after that. I sent out those results to everyone.
Yep.
Just explaining, okay, we got a problem. This is what we're doing. Look for this. And then you want to show them the fish notify icon and how to report phishing and that kind of thing.
Yep. Perfect.
Nicole, one thing that still bugs me on this is the learner grading. Because like I look through all my grades and all my learners, and even the frequent clickers are A pluses. And I've tried to get this where it's at least give them a B or a C. So there's got to be some alchemy or something on the back end that I just don't know. So maybe they can help with that. I mean, I don't think anyone. I'm not really concerned about it. It's just.
Yeah.
It's
So
there, and it's like, why is everyone getting an A plus?
you and I will connect and we'll look at that. And if we can't figure it out, we'll pull back in the InfoSec team to get a better explanation. Just for everybody else's benefit. Yeah, the learners are graded on so there's pluses and minuses, A to F. And you can customize how the grading and scoring happens within the platform. And I think Jim and I have both adjusted ours, so hopefully we did something wrong and it's not an actual issue with the grading. But as you look at learner grading, just make sure that looks right to you, and if not, let us know. Otherwise, we'll fill you in based on what we find out from the InfoSec team.
And that's not anything you have to configure right away to use
No.
this or anything. It's
Definitely not. All right. So that's all I had for everybody today. Definitely feel free to email me if you have any questions, comments, concerns. I'll still stick around till 2 if anybody's scared of talking in front of a group. You guys, this is a small one. This morning we had like 20 people, and yeah, it was the first one, so I missed a couple things. So you guys got a better overall training this round, and I guess I have to apologize to the morning group for that. Yep, I'm gonna kill recording, so if you don't want to be recorded,